Lydia had always been an independent woman, focused on her career and personal growth. At 48, she had never married or had children, instead pouring her energy into managing the property her parents left her, a spacious house with 9 bedrooms that she rented out to university students. It provided a steady income to supplement her remote work and allowed her to contribute to her aging parents' retirement and medical expenses. Life fell into a predictable rhythm for Lydia, screening tenants, handling maintenance, and keeping meticulous records of her rental business and online work. That is, until a young man named Owen contacted her about renting a room. When they met, Lydia was struck by Owen's maturity, drive, and kind demeanor, unusual for someone only 28 years old. He was pursuing a challenging postgraduate degree in biology while juggling 2 jobs to make ends meet, as his family was of modest means and couldn't support him financially. Lydia admired his work ethic and passion for his goals. Owen quickly became an ideal tenant, clean, responsible, and friendly without being disruptive. Lydia found herself looking forward to their chats when she'd bring him coffee as he studied diligently in the garden on weekends. She was surprised to learn he'd been single for years, his ambitious schedule leaving no time for dating. One day, an idea struck Lydia. Her rental and online business accounting had gotten disorganized, and she could use some help. She offered Owen a weekend job helping her get the books in order, which he eagerly accepted. As they worked side by side, Lydia was impressed by Owen's intelligence, focus, and thoughtful suggestions for improving her record-keeping. She began to feel an unexpected fondness for her young tenant, a warmth and connection she hadn't experienced in years. Their easy rapport and stimulating conversations made the hours fly by. Lydia caught herself gazing at the strong lines of Owen's profile as he concentrated, admiring the way the sunlight brought out glints of gold in his chestnut hair. She felt more alive and engaged than she had in ages, but Lydia quickly chastised herself. She was nearly 2 decades older than Owen and his landlady. Any romantic notions were wildly inappropriate. Still, she couldn't deny how much she enjoyed his company, looked forward to their time together, and found her thoughts drifting to him with increasing frequency. Everything changed the day Lydia broke a glass while preparing a snack for their work break, her mind preoccupied and pulse racing in Owen's presence. He rushed to her aid, and in a moment of overwhelming emotion, Lydia impulsively pulled Owen into a fervent kiss. Mortified, Lydia leapt back, apologies tumbling out. But to her shock, Owen tenderly embraced her, his hands stroking her back and sides. They made love passionately, desperately, no word spoken, a tangle of searching lips and caressing fingers, soft sighs and sensual moans. It was as if a dam had broken, releasing a flood of pent-up longing and need. Their relationship shifted into a furtive romance, Owen visiting Lydia's bed in the dark of night. The sex was electric, transcendent, an ecstatic joining of bodies, hearts, and souls, but it remained undefined, a blissful limbo of stolen glances and secret trysts that couldn't last. Neither dared speak of the future or put a label on their unconventional bond. When Owen eventually told Lydia he had accepted a room with a friend across town and thought they should take some time apart to evaluate their relationship, the rejection pierced her like shards of glass. Had it all been a fantasy on her part? How could he so easily walk away from their profound connection? The final blow came when Lydia spotted Owen at the supermarket with a polished young professional woman, their clasped hands and intimate body language unmistakable. He glanced away as if Lydia were a stranger, a flicker of guilt and pity in his eyes. That night, Lydia wept bitter tears, mourning the love she'd allowed herself to feel, however foolish and doomed. Grief, humiliation, and self-recrimination washed over her in crashing waves. In the weeks that followed, Lydia numbly went through the motions, repairing the hole Owen left in her home and heart. She scrubbed the sheets that still smelled of his spicy cologne, boxed up the books and clothes he'd forgotten, and erased all traces of his presence, as if excising a malignant growth. She vowed never again to succumb to such reckless temptation, no matter how lonely she felt. Lydia threw herself back into her work, rental business, and the soothing predictability of the quiet life she had painstakingly built. Her brief but passionate affair with Owen became a bittersweet memory. an unexpected connection that breathed excitement and vitality into her staid existence, even as it brought wrenching heartache. Though she sometimes still yearned for love, intimacy, and partnership, Lydia now knew the dangers of blurring the lines between landlady and tenant, business and pleasure, fantasy and reality. Owen had reawakened her slumbering heart and sensuality, but also reinforced the protective walls around her deepest vulnerability. Lydia had dared to risk, only to lose so much more than she'd bargained for. Gradually, the razor-sharp pain of Owen's desertion faded to a dull, wistful ache, and Lydia made peace with the hard-won wisdom their liaison had imparted. She learned to be content, even grateful for her solitary routines and the meaningful work that sustained her. On rare occasions, Lydia might indulge in wistful speculation. What if she and Owen had met at a different stage of life, under other circumstances? Would they have had a chance at lasting happiness together, despite the difference in their ages and positions? But Lydia refused to dwell in pointless hypotheticals. Owen had been an unexpected detour on her path, not her final destination. She emerged from their affair stronger, wiser, and more in touch with her own resilient spirit. In the end, Lydia's most significant, enduring relationship was with herself. A woman of formidable strength, hard-earned self-knowledge, and unshakable determination. Owen's absence threw into sharp relief the simple truth that she was enough, in and of herself. And that was the greatest gift of their bittersweet entanglement, the renewed conviction that she could survive heartbreak and disappointment, could weather any storm. Life would undoubtedly bring more surprises, both welcome and unwanted. But Lydia now faced the unknown with head held high, secure in the knowledge that she had everything she needed within her own resourceful mind and valiant heart. Come what may, she would meet it with grace and grit. Lydia had built a good life for herself, on her own terms, and she would not let one painful chapter define or destroy her. This she vowed as she closed the book on her bittersweet season with Owen and stepped forward into her wide-open future, ready for anything. 5 years passed in the blink of an eye, each day blurring into the next as Lydia threw herself into her work and the management of her rental property. She had become a seasoned businesswoman, her online venture thriving and her house consistently filled with responsible, respectful tenants. Lydia's parents, though declining in health, took great pride and comfort in their daughter's achievements. She was their rock, their faithful caregiver and companion as they navigated the challenges of aging. Lydia drew strength from their unconditional love and the knowledge that she was making their golden years as comfortable and dignified as possible. Though she had little time or inclination for romance, Lydia's life was far from empty. She cultivated a small but cherished circle of friends, women who shared her values and interests. They met regularly for book club discussions, art gallery openings, and leisurely hikes in the nearby nature preserve. Lydia treasured these conversations and connections, the laughter and support that sustained her. Occasionally, Lydia's thoughts would drift to Owen and the tumultuous emotions he had stirred. But those memories no longer held the power to wound or distract her. She had made her peace with that chapter of her life, extracting the hard-won lessons and releasing the rest. One crisp autumn afternoon, as Lydia was returning home from her weekly visit with her parents, she noticed a moving van parked in front of the house next door. New neighbors were a rarity on her quiet, established street, and Lydia felt a flicker of curiosity. As she approached her own driveway, a tall figure emerged from the back of the van, his arms laden with boxes. The man turned, and Lydia's heart stuttered to a halt. It was Owen. For a moment, Lydia felt the world tilt on its axis, her carefully cultivated equilibrium shattered by the shock of seeing him again. Questions raced through her mind. What was he doing here? Why now, after all this time? Owen met her gaze, his expression a mix of surprise, uncertainty, and something else Lydia couldn't quite name. He put down the boxes and took a tentative step in her direction. "Lydia," he said, his voice soft and achingly familiar. "I didn't know you still lived here. I'm so sorry, I never meant to intrude." Lydia held up a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. She took a deep, steadying breath, marveling at her own calm in the face of this unexpected encounter. "It's all right, Owen," she said. her tone even and measured. "It's been a long time. I hope you're doing well." Owen ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Lydia remembered all too vividly. "I am, thank you. I just accepted a position at the university, in the biology department. I thought it was time to put down some roots, find a place of my own." Lydia nodded, a wry smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "And of all the neighborhoods in this city, you chose this one?" Owen met her gaze squarely, his eyes filled with an earnest intensity. "I chose it because I never forgot what we shared, Lydia. I know I handled things badly back then, and I'm sorry for the way I ended it. But not a day has gone by that I haven't thought of you, wondered what might have been." Lydia's heart clenched, old wounds threatening to reopen. But she stood her ground, refusing to be swept away by sentimentality or regret. "Owen, I appreciate your apology, but what's done is done. We've both moved on, built separate lives. I wish you all the best in your new home and career, truly. But I'm not interested in rehashing the past or speculating about what-ifs. That chapter is closed." Owen's shoulders sagged slightly, but he nodded in acceptance. "I understand, Lydia. You're right, of course. I didn't mean to dredge up old memories or presume. I just wanted you to know that I never forgot you, and I'm deeply sorry for the way things ended." Lydia softened, recognizing the sincerity in his words. "Thank you, Owen. That means a lot. And for what it's worth, I don't regret what we shared. It was an important part of my journey, even if it wasn't meant to last. I'm grateful for the lessons and the growth it sparked in me." Owen smiled ruefully. "You always were the wiser one, Lydia. I'm glad to see you thriving, and I truly hope you found the happiness you deserve." With that, he picked up his boxes and turned back towards the house, throwing a final glance over his shoulder. "Take care of yourself, Lydia. And if you ever need anything, I'm just next door." Lydia watched him walk away, a mix of emotions swirling in her chest. But overriding them all was a profound sense of peace and closure. She had needed this, she realized, the chance to face Owen again as her present, more empowered self, to express her truth and release any lingering what-ifs. As she entered her own home, Lydia felt a newfound lightness and clarity. She had made the right choice, both now and 5 years ago, painful as it had been. She was exactly where she was meant to be, living a life of purpose and contentment on her own terms. The future stretched before her, ripe with possibility and promise. And Lydia knew with bone-deep certainty that she was ready to meet it head-on, come what may. She had everything she needed within herself: strength, resilience, wisdom, and an open, curious heart. With a smile of quiet satisfaction, Lydia put the kettle on for tea and settled in at her desk, ready to tackle the next chapter of her multifaceted, richly textured life. She was home, in every sense of the word, and deeply grateful for the journey that had brought her here.